Om. Om. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamachyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. So we have started chapter 10, where in 4 and 5, Bhagavan gave us the values that have come from him, Satyam, Ahimsa, Akrodha, etc., etc. And the idea of telling us that they have come from him means if those values we practice, when we practice, there is a value, and then when we practice that value, it becomes a virtue with us. There's a difference between value. Value is just a value there, but when we practice those values, they become virtues for us. And by giving us the values, what Bhagavan is telling us is make them into virtues for yourself. And that is the way to reach me, because they have come from me. If you follow that, then you will reach me. And the one who understands both this, the yoga and the vibhuti sthiti. So the virtue is vibhuti, but it has come from him. So that is the yoga. When both of these are understood correctly, yoga and vibhuti, then he attains the avikampena yoga. Vikampa is, I told you, trembling, shivering, shaking. So avikampa means he will never shake with anything, means he becomes fixed in me. And because I don't shake, Brahman cannot shake. Why it cannot shake? It is all pervading. That's why. So when we hold on to that, it's like we holding on to a lighthouse, then we would never shake. But if we were to hold on to a log of wood, we would be constantly going up and down along with the waves in the ocean. All right. And then he told us the knowledge. When we practice those virtues, what happens is our mind gets purified to a certain extent. And then he gives us the knowledge in 8, saying everything has come from me. Aham sarvasya prabhavaha. Everything has come means the material as well as the efficient cause as well as the instrumental cause. That is all me alone. Because in the world we see there is a potter who is the efficient cause, the clay, which is the material cause, and then the wheel, which is the instrumental cause. There are 3 different, and the pot is always different from the pot maker. But here the difference is that the entire world has come from him, and he only is the nimitta karana, the efficient cause, which means it is like gold and ornament. The ornament is, even ornament is just it's a name and form, but it is nothing but gold. That is how this world is to be understood. The world is nothing but names and forms. Okay, there is a form, and to that we give a name. Form of a tree, then we say call it a tree, then it's giving mango, then so first comes form, then comes name. Name and form belongs to the world, but just like name and form also belong to the ornament, but the ornament is nothing but gold. That way name and form belong to the world, but then the world is nothing but Brahman. And that is what is to be understood. Buddha, I told you, a knowledge which is gained without the medium of the mind. That is only one knowledge, which is me, I. And once they get this knowledge, means they realize, there's realized masters, then what do? Machittaha, their mind is in me only, they only think of me alone. Because idea is they are living in the world. It's not like they realize and then so they are living in the world. And how do they live in the world? Their mind is always absorbed in me, their pranas. So all the activities are being assigned to me, because pranas are the controllers of the physiological functions in the body. So whatever the body is doing, this thing. And paraswar, when they are amongst themselves, this bodhayanta is referring to meditation. They actually are silent only. What is there to talk? There's not, because they have gained the Advaita, experience of non-dualism. Talking happens when you think there are two people. Now I think you're there and I'm here, and therefore I'm talking and you're listening. But if there's only one, then there is no talking. The Bodhayanta. And then if they have to talk to people who are not yet realized, then they talk about me alone, because really they don't. We saw this idea even in chapter 2, where Bhagavan says, Arjun asked the question, how does he talk? So talking happens when either he himself goes somewhere, which he will never go. And if he would go, then he would only talk about God. Or then if people ask, come to him and ask questions. And then they are always content. They're very, very tushanti, content. I told you contentment is a quality of the mind. And they are always content, and they are always reveling in me. And then Bhagavan goes on to say, Tesham satata yuktanam. This is where we were. Now, this Tesham does not refer to Buddha, the people, Buddha, the realized masters. Okay. And the reason that it doesn't refer to them is because Bhagwan is saying, Dadami Buddhi Yogam. I give these people, I give Buddhi Yoga. Now, if the person has already realized his oneness with Brahman, then what is there to give Buddhi Yoga after that? So it doesn't apply to them. But there are three other kinds of people. There are three other kinds of people which were devotees, whom Bhagwan had mentioned in chapter 7. There is Artha, Artharthi, and Jnanasu. We saw that. Artha, those who are in distress. Artharthi, those who want material prosperity. And Jnanasu, those who want knowledge. Now, does this Tesham refer to these three? They also, Tesham doesn't refer to these three either. Why? Why? Because they're asking for something. So Bhagavan says, okay, you are in distress. I will save you. Like Draupadi, I told you. Draupadi was in distress. She called Bhagavan. He said, okay, she's only asking to be saved from that situation. I will, Gajendra Moksha is there. You're asking, you want to get out of the, grip of the crocodile. I will take you out. Because they're asking for something. So when somebody is asking for something, then okay, tathasu, I give you. Then the artharthi is asked for material. Okay, fine, you take material. Jinya is asked for knowledge. He says, okay, fine, I'll give you knowledge. But there are a fourth kind of people. And these people, they just bhajatam priti purvakam. They just worship me just like that. I remember sometimes small children, why did you do this? They'll say, because. Are because what? The child says, because. So that's what I remember. So these are this fourth kind of people. Why are you worshipping God? Because. No reason. No reason. Means he's not in distress. He doesn't want material prosperity. He doesn't even want knowledge. He's not a jnani because, but I just love Bhagwan. Preeti Purvakam. I just love Bhagwan, and so I just worship him. I'm not asking for anything. I don't want anything only. There's no question of asking. If I don't want, why will I ask? I will ask only when I want something. I don't want anything. I'm just worshiping. Then Bhagwan says, such people, tadami buddhi yogam. I give them buddhi yoga. Tam yena mamu upayanti te. They mama upayanti te. Then because of that, they come to me. Means they have not asked for anything. Huh? People who ask, whatever ask, Bhagwan says tathasu. Whatever we ask for, Bhagwan will give us. We just have to have the faith. We just have to have the faith. But these people don't have that. So we were on this world. The key word here is buddhi yogam. There are two words. There is one is just buddhi, and then there is buddhi yogam. Okay, two. This buddhi, when we say intellect, it is an intellect which is very much, very good in the external world, transactional world. How to make more money, how to go up the corporate ladder, how to become famous, whatever, everything to do with the external world. That is buddhi. But buddhi yogam, when Bhagavan says, then yoga is coming from yuj to join. So it is that buddhi, it is that intellect which helps them to join with me. So this is an introverted buddhi. Buddhi yoga is introverted. Buddhi alone is extroverted. Best example is Tulsi Das Ji. So if you've heard the story of Tulsi Das Ji, was when he was born, his mother died. His name was Tulsi because his mother's name was Hulasi. So Hulasi dies when he was born, and then when he is about 4 or 5 years old, no, then a nanny is there who is taking care of him, Aya, a lady. But when in between, when his father dies also, when he's a child, and when he's 4 or 5 years old, the nanny also dies. She also dies, who was taking care of him. So what happens is there is this guru in the ashram. He takes him into his ashram, and Tulsi Daji grows up in that ashram where he is taught Ramayana. That's where he learns Ramayana. Now what happens is when he becomes a youth, then the guru thinks, you know what, he should get married and he should have a life, and Garas, householder, he's become of age. So he gets him married. But with that marriage, Tulsi Daji got so attached to the wife because he had never seen a woman's love. She was very young, mother died. Then 4 5 years, what does the child remember? That nanny was there. She also died. Then he was in the ashram with, probably all the saints and Mahatmas, etc., etc. So he gets very much attached to his wife to an extent where one day she has gone to her mother's house, parents' house, to stay overnight, and he cannot bear the separation. So it was a very, very rainy night, and the river was in full spate. It was flooded, and he had to cross the river to go to her house. So he actually thinks that he's hanging on to a log of wood, and he crosses the river. It actually later on turns out to be a dead body. Means he doesn't even realize that it was a dead body. He thinks it's a log of wood. He crosses over that river, goes there. Then her room was upstairs. So there is a vine hanging there. He climbs up actually it turns out to be a snake hanging there. He doesn't even realize that it is a snake, but he climbs up there. This is how the story goes, huh? I'm not making it up. So he goes up there to her room because he's so, passionate, and he's just, and now he's completely wet because it's raining heavily. He's completely wet. He's in a very pitiable state. Now the wife, she feels very, very sad, sorrowful. So what she says is to him, if you had this much longing for Rama, you would have seen him by now. That is what she says. Now, that line could have had different effects on different people, right? Somebody would have said, I don't care, I'm here. Now, that's it, I'm here for you. Somebody would have said, okay, to forget you, I'm going to go get married. But because he had studied Ramayana, he had grown up in the ashram, now the thought that comes to him is, oh my God, this is true. And he gets complete dispassion. He leaves her. Not only does he leave her, he actually leaves the world. He goes and he, sits in meditation, and then comes out the Tulsi Ramayana from him. That shift in thought is Buddhi Yoga. That is what Buddhi Yoga is. Any situation, any person, any object that reminds you of Bhagavan. That's why he gave those values, okay? That virtue. Why should I develop the virtue? Not that people will say how good I am. No, because this virtue is going to lead me to Bhagavan. That becomes Buddhi Yoga. That is Buddhi Yoga. So any situation which remind me, if you take the example of Arjun, okay? Arjun was, if you remember the first chapter, he was a brave warrior. He was there to fight the war. But then when Bhagwan puts him in front of Bhishmacharya and Dronacharya, then suddenly he gives a whole set of arguments why he should not fight, why he should not kill them. If you remember chapter 1, it's a whole thing is argument. That those arguments are buddhi, because they are referring to the external world, right? They say so many women will get, they'll become widows because all the young people will die, or there'll only be old people and young, very very young children, then the society will deteriorate, etc. So many arguments he gives, which were all true. Yes, that is what happened. Which, of course, the thing was that if he would have lost, that would have happened. But if he had won, then that would not have happened. But anyway, that part is buddhi. But then in the beginning of the second chapter, he suddenly thinks, something is wrong in my thinking. Something is wrong in my thinking, and he surrenders. That is buddhi again. That Bhagwan says, I give. See, Bhagwan, the main purpose, Arjuna had said, just take my chariot in front of the two armies. He had not said, specified, right in front of Bhishma and Drona. He had not specified, like, he just says, take. But Bhagwan says, now is the time to fulfill my purpose of my avatar. Purpose of Bhagwan Shri Krishna's avatar was to give knowledge. This was the main purpose. Of course, there were the other things where he killed Kamsa and Putana and all those other things were there. But they were all, like side effects. The main purpose, main purpose is, but then there are these side effects. So those were all side effects. The main thing was Bhagavad Gita. That was his purpose. So he says, okay, now whole life Arjun lived with me, never ever asked a single question about Vedanta. He never asked. Now is if I let go of this opportunity, then my avatar is becoming futile. And that's why he puts the chariot in front of those two whom he knows Arjun is now going to have a breakdown. Now Arjun is going to break. I need to break him so that his attention is turned towards me. It's all Bhagwan's play. It is Leela by Bhagwan. So that is what he does, and exactly it happens as he plans. As he, when Bhagwan plans, it's foolproof. And then what happens is that extreme sorrow becomes a yoga for Arjun to. That's why the first Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Vishada is sorrow. So that Vishada, that sorrow has, when we get sorrow, we could go to drugs, we could go into drinking, we could go into any kind of evil things. But if we decide to go towards God, we can go Godward or dogward. God and dog is just reversible this way or that way. So if we go Godward, which means Bhagwan has given us Buddhi Yoga. That is what this Buddhi, Dadami Buddhi Yogam. I give. Dadami is I give. Because I want this person to turn towards me. In his earlier books, Gurudev has given us examples, two examples, axe and blade. Okay. So the axe also cuts and the blade also cuts. But if you want to cut a tree, can you use a blade? No, you have to use the axe. But if you want to shave a beard, can you use an axe? No, you have to use a blade. So the axe is buddhi. In this case, that means external, material prosperity, fame, everything, name, fame, everything. That is axe. So gross intellect, buddhi, gross, which is very active in the gross world. Where do I invest so my money will, go up, and how do I do this and how do I do that? So that is axe. But the blade is subtle. Subtle. So to understand Bhagwan, to become introverted, we need a subtle intellect. How do I gain that subtle intellect? One is Bhagwan's grace. This is straight Bhagwan's grace. Bhagwan will give you that subtle intellect. If we were to try for it, we need to purify the mind. And if you want to purify the mind, then 4 and 5 verses. You do that. Follow the virtues. That is what is meant. That, if the values have come from him and that we make it into a virtue in ourselves, then that virtue will lead us back to him. And that leading back to him, that thought which leads us to him. So when I've told you this many, many times, if good things happen, we must say, thank you, Lord. We must say, we must never this thing. What happens is, see, I did, and now this success I got. That is buddhi. But when we say, No, when we recognize the hand of God in everything, so we say, oh, thank you, Lord, and then it is buddhi yoga. So in the beginning, even if you feel hypocritical, make sure that somewhere along the line you bring God in there. And if it is a difficult situation, a stressful situation, then pray to God. Because, only He can remove our stress. Nobody else can. Pray to God. Okay, God, this is what is happening. Please help me go through this situation. Okay. So when I think of going to the Lord, it is buddhi yoga. And that He's saying, I make them come to me. Okay, this is what He says. So that then buddhi by which they come to me. As you think, so shall you become. As you sow, so shall you reap. So if we sow thoughts of God, then okay, then that is what is going to come. If I keep thinking of the Lord, that is what is going to come. With knowledge and bhakti, so suppose if I love something, if I love something, then I would want to know more about it, isn't it? Like if I love a person, or if I meet somebody, oh, this person is really nice, then I would like to know more. Okay. And with knowledge is a little bit different. So knowledge, what happens is, if I get more and more knowledge about a human being, a person, okay, it necessarily may not lead to liking. But there's a saying, familiarity breeds contempt, right? So the more familiar you get with somebody, sometimes you might realize, oh no, really this person I thought was not so, but most of the time you start seeing the negativities in that person. As spiritual seekers, let me tell you, we must be aware and we must remind ourselves. This is just a side thing from this Buddhi Yoga, but I'm just telling you that it is their gunas that are doing that. And we should be able to forgive. We should always remember that in Duryodhan also Bhagavan was there. And we know what kind of person Duryodhan was, right? So if he isn't that, then this person that I know can't be like Duryodhan. Okay. But with knowledge, if you start getting knowledge about God, if you start inquiring into God through the intellect, so no love, no nothing, you're an intellectual. So the more and more you know about God, the more and more you will love Him, because there is nothing negative about God. That is the difference. With bhakti, what happens is you are so much in love. That's why in this verse he said, Bhajatam Pritipur, you're just in love, and you may or may not want to know. As you love knowledge, sometimes there's two things. You love this person or God, bhakti, and then you want to know more about God. Okay. So ultimate bhakti, that's why we call them jnani bhaktas. Remember Samarth Ramdas also, I told you. And even chapter 12, Bhagwan will say the devotee that is described in chapter 12 is a jnani. Jnani bhakta means what? He has done bhakti, but he has achieved the oneness. So he is jnani also. His jnana and bhakti, both are there. But these people, they are not asking for knowledge also. I told you, they're not jinyasu. They just love. Then Bhagwan helps them go, like he did for Tulsidas. Okay. With knowledge, so ultimate in knowledge is love, bhakti. And ultimate in bhakti is knowledge. So ultimately, knowledge and bhakti are one and the same. But starting points, they appear different. They appear different. So when person is doing only bhakti, Bhagwan gives them this dadami buddhi yogam. Bhagwan says, I will give you that buddhi. Now I will tell you mine and your oneness. I will only tell you. You're not asking. Out of love, I'm going to give it to you. I'm just going to give it to you. And that is what buddhi yoga is there. Okay. With knowledge, another downfall of knowledge is knowledge can give ego. Like karma can give ego, right? Unless karma is done as karma yoga with surrender to a higher ideal, it will give ego. I have done so much, I did this, I did that, etc., etc. Okay, so even while doing karma, we need knowledge. And then when we do it with as karma yoga, then that is buddhi yoga. See, so now this buddhi yoga, let me tell you how it works. You're a karmi means most of us are rajasic people, and without action we cannot live even for a second. Bhagavan himself said that in chapter 3. So if I think of converting karma into karma yoga, that is buddhi yoga. That's why this karma yoga, Bhagavan has called it buddhi yoga actually. In Bhagavad Gita, this buddhi yoga, we see buddhi, intellect, we think it's jnana, it's related to knowledge. Actually, in Bhagavad Gita, buddhi yoga is karma yoga only. So when I think of inculcating the attitudes behind doing karma, there are 5, na? Sense of duty, sense of surrender, sense of detachment, prasada buddhi, and then samatha, equanimity. When I try to get these virtues into my action, which was, say, previously it was for my own sake or selfish reasons, that is buddhi yoga. In karma, that is buddhi yoga. There, if you're a karmi, then and you want to. This is also, obviously, it is meant for us. Those who are completely ignorant, Bhagavan cannot, because the ignorant people are, even if they pray to God, there is an ulterior motive. These are people who have no ulterior motive. Okay. Priti Purvakam means bhakti, love. They are just worshipping God out of love. Then he will tell them the oneness. Between knowledge and bhakti, it is, if you see a mother cat, she holds her kitten in her mouth. Have you seen? Do you know this? She never lets go of a kitten. That is bhakti. So Bhagwan never lets go of his devotee. Bhagwan never lets go. And when he sees this devotee is falling, that's what he did for Tulsidas. Immediately he pulled him out. Arjun also, he's my friend. He says, you're my devotee and my friend. Bhakta and Sakha, both words he has used for Arjun. So he realized Arjun is falling. He turned him around and brought him back on track. And knowledge, the one who has knowledge, it's like the monkey. The mother monkey doesn't hold on to the child. The child has to hold on to that mother monkey. Tight. So with knowledge, you have to hold on tight to God. So that's why Bhakti, Narad Bhakti Sutra and all, they say Bhakti is very easy. That is why they say, though it is not. Don't underestimate Bhakti, because love has to be unconditional. Okay? But this is what this Buddhi Yoga is. Completion in Bhakti is, ultimate Bhakti is knowledge, and ultimate knowledge is Bhakti. They're both the same. All right. Any questions? No? Okay. That's why this Buddhi Yoga is very, very important. Yes.
Just a quick question, Jaji. For the seeker, whether or not they prefer the jnana path or the bhakti path, is that determined by our gunas, or that's what determines whether or not? Okay.
Because when there is excess of rajas, then we always are running around with a to-do list. So that to-do list, do it. It's okay. There's nothing wrong. It's actually in chapter 3, Bhagavan said, if you have a to-do list, but outside you're like, oh, I have got, then you're a hypocrite. So you have a purpose. You want to get a promotion. You want to rise. Okay, nothing wrong. Of course, you want to go rob a bank. That is wrong, totally. That you don't do. That is not to be done. But if you want to go up the corporate ladder, if you have it, you definitely work for it. While working for that, try to incorporate the best thing, the best attitude to incorporate in that sort of a situation is, I'm going to try for this thing, God, but if I don't get it, I won't complain. That start bringing it in first. That should come in first. And then the others will follow, Duty is there. That is what is meant by detachment. So you work very, very hard. Don't get attached to the work, and definitely don't be attached to the result. And not being attached to the result doesn't mean that there is no result in mind and you're working. No, no, no. There is a definite result in mind. For that definite result, you are doing work. But if that definite result does not come, I accept. That has to be the attitude. And if that attitude you're bringing in, that is Buddhi Yoga. That is Buddhi Yoga through karma. Through karma. Because that is now, what should I say, facilitating your path towards becoming one with the Lord. Because ultimate goal is one, not this life, whatever life. But that is one step towards that. Any step towards God is Buddhi Yoga. Any step towards the world alone. But right now, at your young age, for us, I don't have nothing, nothing to gain in the, but you have, and there's nothing wrong with it. You must have. But try to, now that you're on this path, try to incorporate this. And the best is I will accept whatever comes. That is where you start. Okay? And then the others will follow one by one by one. All right. We move. Okay, let's move. तेषामेवानुकम्पार्थम् अहमज्ञानजं तमः नाशयाम्यात्मभावस्थो ज्ञानदीपेन भास्वता. Out of mere compassion for them, I, dwelling within their heart, destroy darkness born of ignorance by the luminous lamp of knowledge. So the question is, what their Gurudev has written, through this Buddhi Yoga, what exactly does the Lord provide for the seeker? So I already said, what is Buddhi Yoga? That is turning. But what exactly does the Lord want to do? Is to give him the ultimate experience of oneness with the Lord. And how does the Lord do it? Tesham anukam. Anukam is compassion. Because, see, in Narad Bhakti Sutra also, Narad Bhagavan has said, he likes deen people, humble people Bhagavan likes. Bible, I think the Lord has said, and the meek shall inherit the kingdom of heaven. The meek. So this, when you become meek, means what? Not a doormat for outside people, but when you are humble in front of the Lord, understanding his greatness, understanding that he's Sarvadnya, Sarvashaktiman, he is the greatest, he is the only one, then Bhagwan has got, because Bhagwan is all compassion. And we see, how we see that, that's the idea in Bhagavad Puran, where Bhagwan Shri Krishna has killed so many people. All the people that Bhagwan killed, they got immediate realization, liberation. They were all liberated right away. Putana, Shishupal, Kausa, Ravana. Last minute, they were liberated. That is how compassionate Bhagwan means. Those who hated him, those who were jealous of him, those who were criticizing him, even them Bhagwan gave liberation. So, if we love him, so how don't we have a better chance? That is the compassion that Lord has. That's why he says is out of extreme compassion for them, I remove the darkness of ignorance. Okay. Now, to remove darkness, physical darkness, you need a light. And that light is not the light. It's the lamp of knowledge. So how do I do? How do I nasha? How do I destroy the darkness of ignorance born out of tamas? Tamas is inertia, right? That I by light. Now this jnana deepa, not that a physical jnana deepa is there, but even, getting buddhi yoga is, we have a saying now, are tube light. Have you heard that? India, we are tube light aa gaya, we used to have tube lights. They would flicker, and then they would light. I have not seen tube lights. I think in the stores maybe. Anyway, in India, in the houses, every room had and you turn it on and it'll flicker, and it'll come. So that sort of thing happens in our mind. When we surrender to the Lord, then in quiet moments of meditation, a thought will come. watch yourself. You need to really watch our own mind, not body, mind. And that happens when you sit quietly. That's why one of the practices for spiritual seekers is at least 5 minutes in the day, sit quietly, close your eyes. If you're sitting at night, then think of the days, whatever that you did, or then sit quietly and then think of the problem. Means you stand outside of the problem and then you think about the problem. And it works. I went through like 3 stressful situations just in the last week. Then I separated myself, I thought, and the answers came to me. Then now I'm stress free. Okay, because we don't want a life of stress. Nobody likes stress. Okay, so this jnana deepa lamp, jnana of knowledge. What is this lamp of knowledge? The lamp, it's a metaphor. The lamp is the mind. Okay, because he is giving us thought in the mind. Now, thought doesn't come in the body, it comes in the mind. So it is the mind. Now, in that mind, for a physical lamp to be lit, you need ghee or oil. You can't just burn a dry wick. You need something. That oil is devotion. Priti Purvakam, he said, right? So that is our love for the Lord. Okay. Now you need a wick also. In those days, there's a wick, not electric. There's a wick. The wick is Shat Sampati that we studied in Tattva Bodh. What is that? Viveka, Vairagya, all comes. Mumukshutva, Shat Sampati main. So in Shat Sampati, we have Shama, Dama, Titiksha, Uparati, Samadhana, and Shraddha. So we have control of the senses, control of the mind. We have patience, Titiksha. Samadhana is single pointedness of mind. Shraddha, faith. And Uparati is withdrawal. That is the wick. Okay. And the air, if a lamp has to burn, any fire has to burn, it needs oxygen, it needs air. So the air is thoughts of God. Buddhi yoga, right? Everything, situation comes, oh Lord, please give me a solution. Good thing comes, oh, thank you, Lord, it is because of you this happened. So those are those thoughts. That is the air that keeps, when we do this, then the lamp is lit, then the flame will remain there. And when does the flame flicker? Air is required, but if there's a wind, there's a breeze, then the flame is going to flicker. So that breeze, the heavy breeze, is desires. So they have to be controlled. They have to be calmed down. And maybe not 24 hours. That's why try this. Whenever you think that, oh, I don't have an answer to this, sit quietly, close your eyes. If you have an altar, sit in front of the altar and just sit quietly. Just when you quieten your mind, then God starts speaking. See, we don't hear God's voice. You know why? Because how many thoughts are going through my own mind right now even? Think about it. So God's voice is muffled because our own thoughts are coming one after the other, right? There is a story of a person who was considered a great devotee because he used to go to the temple every week. Then all of a sudden one day he stopped going to the temple. And people thought, wow, he was such a devotee and he was coming to the temple every week and now he's not coming. So somebody asked him, they said, oh, we used to see you in the temple every time and now you're not coming. Why is that? Why is that? Of course, people are encouraged to go to the temple, but so he said, I used to come to the temple and I used to, every day I had a wish list. So I said, oh, God, I want this, God, I want this, God, I want this, right? And one day he said, you know what? I keep talking to God and I never hear God's voice. So I should stop talking. See, that is Buddhi Yoga there, huh? So first he was talking, that was Buddhi. I want this, I want that, I want that, I want that. Okay. Now he thought, maybe I should not talk and maybe God will talk. So he quietened his mind. He went to the temple and he just got, and then God started talking to him. Means what? Means not like physically, but in the mind, he started getting thoughts of that. Then he realized that quietening of my mind doesn't have to be in the temple. God is everywhere. right? So he said, I just quieten my mind anywhere and God talks to me. Why should I come to the temple? I don't have to come to the temple. That doesn't mean you don't go to the temple, but this is Buddhi Yoga. So the importance of going to the temple is to quieten your mind. If you go to, I mean, I go once in a while, people are just constantly talking there. Hanuman Chalisa is going on and the lecture is going. So it is more of a socializing thing for people. But it is better to go to the temple and socialize than to go to a restaurant or a bar. So that way, yeah, you have to think like that. So at least they're a wee bit higher than those people because they could choose to go to a restaurant for a dinner or whatever, right? They could choose that, but they've chosen the temple. So that's why the priest of the temple says, no, no, bring your children, let them run, let them do this, let them do that. But those who are as we mature, then we think like, oh my God, really. So like this person. So the idea is to quieten the mind, and mind isn't with you all the time. It can be quietened anywhere. That is what solitude is all about. In a whole crowd, you can remain in solitude with yourself, or you can be lonely in an entire crowd. You can be very lonely. You can feel lonely as well. So what Bhagwan is saying here is, Bhaswata, I light this lamp of knowledge in the mind. Okay, that is what it is. So Buddhi Yoga works like this. It works like this. So that is what is taking us. If you realize that quietening of the mind is most important, then that's what you will work for. That Shama and Dama, that's coming under that. Okay, so that wick gets very sharpened. Brahmacharya also is there. Celibacy, not just for sexual, but control of all the senses. Okay. All right, that is what it is. Now, Arjuna Vacha is there. 12 and 13, they are, because the first, they go together. So we will chant them together. Yeah. Arjuna Vacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashwatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahustvam Rishayas Sarve Devarshina देवर्षिर्नारदस्तथा असितो देवलो व्यासः स्वयं चैव ब्रवीषि मे. Arjun said, you are the supreme Brahman, the supreme abode, the supreme purifier, eternal, divine, Purusha, the god of all gods, unborn, omnipresent. All the rishis have thus declared you as also the Devarishi Narada, so also Asita, Devala, and Vyasa, and now the same you yourself say to me. So the idea here is that Arjun says that I have heard, Ahuhu means these people have said. So this 13 comes first. What have they said comes in 12. Because he gave all those adjectives for Bhagwan. So the second one, Ahuhu Stam Rishi, all the rishis, those who in their higher states of meditation, those who got the Vedas. So this, including Narad Bhagwan, is considered as one of the greatest devotees of the Lord. See, even in the case of Narad Bhagwan, the story of Narad in his previous birth, he was a Dasi Putra. Dasi is what? Servant. He was the son of a servant lady, but that servant lady used to work in an ashram where there were all rishis, where satsang was going on. And her son, Narad, means in the previous birth, he used to also live with his mother. But when he was about 5 years old also, his mother dies. Now, a 5-year-old child, if only mother is there, and if she, what would that child feel, na? But apparently this child feels, oh, you know what? In a way, it is good that my mom passed because now I don't have to worry about her. I will only serve the rishis. Buddhi Yoga. That is Buddhi Yoga. So when a bad thing happens, it is a very bad thing for a child to lose mother at age 5. Very bad. It's not good, right? Transactional world, right? That is Buddhi. But he doesn't think like that. He says, no, no, no. Bhagwan has blessed me only. Now I don't have responsibility of my mother. Now I will concentrate on the rishis. And that's what he did. So he not only served them, but all the satsangs he was attending. And because of that, this bhakti grew and grew and grew to a point where in the next birth he came as Narad Bhagwan. That is his story. So that is also Buddhi Yoga. To understand that whatever bad has happened in my life is, maybe it is not really bad. Maybe it is meant for this. Maybe it is meant for me to turn towards God. If you think like that, then Buddhi Yoga. Then Buddhi Yoga, okay? So Narad Bhagwan, then Asito, Asita, Sita means to stitch. And Asita means one which is not stitched. That is what Asita is. And they are the seers. They belong to this a school of philosophy, Sankhya school of philosophy. They are known as Asita. Probably they were wearing clothes which were not stitched. Probably, we don't know. But they also belong to a school of philosophy, and he's quoting them as well. They also say all these things about you. Devaha, Vyasa Muni, he says, Ved Vyasa is also saying. But he says, they are saying, and I have heard all this from them, but now I want you to tell me. So now we come to the 12th verse. So what are they saying? What are they telling? What has Arjun heard from them? Param Brahma, supreme. You are the supreme. Supreme, a point of no return, beyond which there is nothing. So now he's saying, I have heard that you are the pure consciousness. Param Dhama, abode. Param, supreme. You are the abode that needs to be reached. If I want to reach the supreme, I must reach your abode. You, okay? Abode here can be taken as Vaikuntha, the place, because in bhakti there is those type of liberations also. When you are a great devotee of Lord Vishnu, then Lord Vishnu gives you a place in his home, Vaikuntha. If you're a great devotee of Krishna, then you will get a place in Saketa, or you will get a place on Kailash, where Lord Shiva is. If you're a Shiva Bhakta, that way there is in bhakti. And then in that abode also, there is a hierarchy. You can be, there is Sayuj Bhakti, Samipya Bhakti, Samipya Moksha rather, Samipya Moksha. The Samipya means close. So you will be in the inner circle of Bhagwan, Vishnu. Like suppose if you take Vishnu, then you'll be in the inner circle, in his home. This Dhamma. And then then Sayuj Bhakti. So you start looking like Bhagwan Vishnu. So there was a question there that, okay, if you only start looking like Vishnu, then how will other people know which is Vishnu and which is a fake Vishnu? You're a imposter. They said, no, but Lakshmi will be only with the real Vishnu. She knows who my husband is. She won't be, but I will look like Vishnu. If I'm a Vishnu Bhakta, and that is what I'm asking for. In Bhakti, these 4 types of mokshas are there. Now here Dhamma, when we come into Vedanta though, Dhamma is only oneness with the Lord. It is not form, because form is false. Okay, for Vedanta. Dhamma, but Bhakti Shastra, because now we are going into Bhakti. Now we are on 10, 11, 12 is total Bhakti, right? So that is why that Bhakti thing is there. Pavitram. Pavehe Bhayat Trayate iti Pavihi. Pavihi is the thunderbolt of Indra. That is the weapon of Indra, Lord Indra. That is Pavihi. And that which protects us from that thunderbolt is Pavitra. That is the etymological meaning of Pavitra. Directly translated is pure. Pavitra is pure. Okay. But if you break that word, and thunderbolt of Indra is very, very powerful. We have seen that in Hanuman Chalisa. He has a little thing on his cheek because Indra struck him with the thunderbolt. So if Hanuman with that strength only he got, that means if we get struck means we will be dead only. Like there's nothing, no other thing for us here. So Pavitram is that which protects us from, protect us from thunderbolt means what? Protects us from death. Because if that thunderbolt strikes us, we are going to die. So Pavitra is that which protects us from death. Now, I've told you this many times. Protection from the death of the body is impossible. Impossible. So pavitra here means that which makes me realize that I'm immortal, that I can never die. So even if the thunderbolt strikes me, okay, the body will die, but can the thunderbolt touch me? Can it touch me as the Supreme Self? So pavitra here, this is pavitram param, bhavan, bhavan, you, yourself, respectful, thou. In English, if you try, it's not you, thou. Thou have been described by those people in verse 13, the Asitan, even Narad Bhagwan, all the rishis, as you're the supreme self, Brahman. You are Brahman. Your abode means becoming one with you is supreme through Vedanta, through bhakti, attaining to that abode. What the real, what the subjective meaning of, see, what happens is in bhakti, when you do upasana, bhakti is you do upasana, then you actually, Vedantic explanation of that bhakti is you actually reach Brahmaloka, the highest. In Brahmaloka, suppose you have done upasana on Vishnu, okay? So Brahmaji appears as Vishnu. That is what is the main subjective meaning of that. Understand it. So there is not like there is Vaikuntha over here and, Kailash over there and Saket. It is not like that. Now you're doing upasana on Krishna, say, Ishtadeva. You're doing upasana, right? Bhakti. You reach Brahmaloka only. Final abode is Brahmaloka, where Brahmaji appears as Krishna. Brahmaji will appear as Shiva. It is Brahmaji only. It is the creator. He will appear in whatever form that you have done upasana on. So if I have done upasana on Krishna and if I reach Brahmaloka, then I will see Krishna only. Because that is what I've thought of all my life. He is what I've thought of all my life. So that there, then they get the knowledge, or they get this samipya. So they're very close to that Vishnu, or they look like Vishnu or Krishna, or all that happens like that. It all happens in Brahmaloka only. Okay. So anyway, Param Dhama, but Vedantic Dhama, Param Dhama is to become one with the Lord. Pavitram, that which gives me the realization that I am immortal. So there's protection from death. I'm never going to die. I was not born and I'm not going to die. If that realization I have, that is Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. Purusham Shashwatam Divyam. Purusham, here Purusham is again the supreme being. It is not Purish. See, Purusham has got many, etymological meaning. So Purishayanat iti Purusha. Purishayanat means the one who sleeps in the body of 9 gates. That is how Bhagwan in Bhagavad Gita only is described. This is the body of 9 gates, 7 in the face and innocent genitals. There's 9 gates. And the one who sleeps inside means that Purusha then is Jiva. This is not that Jiva, Purusham, Supreme Purusha. Okay, because this Purusha word is used, Purusha, ordinary meaning is man. Literal meaning of Purusha in the transactional world is just man. This is not man, this is not Jiva. Then when you see that Purusha as living in the body, then it becomes Jiva. But this Purusha is even higher than that. Uttama Purusha, that we'll see in chapter 15, where Bhagwan says Uttama Purusha. Or in chapter 7, you've heard the Turiya state, right? That is what this thing. Shashvatam, eternal, beyond time. Beyond time. So whatever is born in time, we know is going to end in time. Body is there, mind is there, situations are there, whatever, youth is there. It comes in time, it's going to go in time. So Shashvatam, beyond time. So I know now, see, so far, he first thought he was just my friend and all. Now in 11, he will say that. He said, I'm sorry. He apologizes actually to Bhagavan that I treated you as a friend because you are that. But here now he's saying, this is what I've heard. Now he has heard this, okay? Then he experiences. Divyam, divine. Divine. So full of light. Divine is what is full of light. Adi Deva. Adi, beginning. You are the first among the devas. Means you were first. In Taittiriya Upanishad, we heard this. in that song. He says, I am Adi Dev. I was first, and then all these devas have come from me. That is the song of the realized master there. But here, Arjun is telling, you are Adi Deva, means you were first, and then everything else has come from you. And that's what he said also. Now, aham prabhavo, sarvasyam aham prabhavo. Everything has come from me. Now Arjun is saying, this is what I've heard. You are the first, and everything else has come from you. Ajam, you are unborn. By saying Shashvatam, already it says unborn, because beginningless, beyond time, and Vibhum. Vibhum is that which shines everywhere. So whatever I see, whatever we see in this world is nothing but you. Like I gave you the example of gold and ornaments. You see any ornament, it is nothing but gold. You see anything in this world, it is nothing but the pure consciousness. It is the existence principle. It is the principle of existence, consciousness, bliss. So that is Vibhum. That is 12 and 13. So we will stop here today. And then now there is, yeah, 15, yeah, I think till 16. Yeah, few more verses that Arjun is going to say, and then Bhagwan in 19 starts his discourse. Okay. So we do have a class next Sunday, 26th, right? Yeah. Any questions? So after that, anyway, 2 weeks, like I said, we'll be closed for 2 weeks anyway in December. So should be okay. All right. Okay. So it's settled now. Sunday class. All right.
Thank you. Hari Om.
हरि ओम् ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितः ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्ति भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ